I was settling into C2A, first class, on a flight from Boston to Seattle when I heard the commotion behind me. My 7-year-old son Marcus was in 2B, his face pressed against the window, marveling at the wing of the aircraft. I'd splurged on first-class tickets because we were heading to his grandmother's funeral, and I wanted him to be as comfortable as possible during what would be a difficult trip. Well, looks like someone made a mistake. The voice was sharp, entitled, dripping with false sweetness. I turned to see a woman in her mid-50s, blonde hair shellacked into an aggressive bob, designer sunglasses perched on her head despite being indoors. She was gesturing at Marcus. "This is my seat, sweetie. You're going to need to move to wherever you're supposed to be." Marcus looked confused. "But Daddy said this is my seat." I stood up, keeping my voice level. "Excuse me, that's my son's assigned seat. Our boarding passes clearly show 2A and 2B. She barely glanced at me before pulling out her phone, tapping aggressively. "I don't think so. I specifically selected 2B when I booked this flight 3 months ago. I always fly first class. I have over 500,000 miles with this airline." Before this goes further, if you're enjoying this story of entitled behavior meeting its match, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World. We've got plenty more stories of Karens facing the consequences of their actions. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Now, back to our friend who thinks frequent flyer miles equal ownership of airplane seats. I pulled out my phone, showing her our boarding passes with our names clearly assigned to seats 2A and 2B. As you can see, these seats are assigned to us. Perhaps you should check your boarding pass? She waved her hand dismissively. "I don't need to check anything. The system made an error. It happens all the time. Your son can sit and coach where children belong anyway. First class is for business travelers and people who understand proper airplane etiquette." Marcus's eyes were starting to water. He'd been so excited about the big seat, the extra legroom, the promise of cookies during flight. This was supposed to be a small bright spot in what I knew would be a heartbreaking week. "Ma'am, I'm not moving my son. These are our assigned seats, we paid for them, and we're staying here." Her face reddened, that particular shade of crimson that signals an imminent meltdown. "Do you know who I am? I'm a Diamond Medallion member. I fly 40 weeks out of the year for my consulting business. I could have you both removed from this flight." A flight attendant approached, her smile professionally maintained despite clearly hearing the entire exchange. "Is everything all right here?" The woman, let's call her Karen because at this point she'd earned it, immediately shifted her tone to syrupy victim mode. "Oh, thank goodness. There's been a terrible mistake. This man and his child are in my seat. I'm in 2B. I always sit in 2B. The flight attendant checked her tablet. "Ma'am, I show 2B assigned to Marcus Henderson. Your seat is actually 14C. Karen's jaw dropped. 14C? That's not even first class. That's economy plus at best. There must be some mistake. I specifically selected a first-class aisle seat. I need an aisle seat for my medical condition. According to our records, you booked your ticket yesterday afternoon. All first-class seats were already assigned. Would you like me to help you locate your assigned seat?" "Yesterday? No. I booked this months ago. Your system is clearly malfunctioning." She turned back to Marcus. "Look, little boy, I'm sorry your father made a mistake, but I need this seat. I have very important work to do during this flight, and I can't concentrate in economy. If you move without making a fuss, I'll give you $20. I stepped between Karen and my son. We're not moving. Please find your assigned seat." Karen's voice rose to a volume that made several other passengers look up from their phones. "This is discrimination. I'm being discriminated against because I'm a woman traveling alone. You're letting this man bully me out of my seat because of patriarchal nonsense." The flight attendant's smile had frozen into something approximating patience. "Sir, ma'am, we need to resolve this quickly so we can prepare for departure. Sir, your boarding passes are in order. Ma'am, you need to move to your assigned seat in 14C, or I'll need to call the gate supervisor." "Fine. Call them. I want to speak to your supervisor anyway. This is absolutely unacceptable customer service. I'm going to report all of you. Do you understand how much money I've spent with this airline?" What Karen couldn't know, was that my late mother-in-law hadn't just been Marcus's grandmother. She'd been Evelyn Henderson, former vice president of operations for this very airline, retired just 18 months earlier after 40 years of service. And my wife Sarah, currently in seat 3A across the aisle trying not to laugh, was a senior analyst in the airline's corporate office. We weren't regular travelers. We were family. But I wasn't going to play that card yet. Some situations resolve themselves beautifully when you just give people enough rope. The gate supervisor arrived, a tall man with graying temples and an air of someone who'd seen every possible passenger meltdown. Karen immediately launched into her grievances. "Finally, someone with authority. This family has stolen my seat. I specifically booked 2B months ago. I'm a Diamond Medallion member, and I'm being treated like a common passenger. I demand they be removed from first class immediately, and then I be compensated for this traumatic experience." The supervisor checked his tablet, glanced at our boarding passes, then looked at Karen with the expression of someone trying very hard not to sigh. "Ma'am, you booked Economy Plus yesterday at 3:27 p.m. There is no record of any previous booking, canceled reservation, or seat change. These passengers have been assigned to row 2 since their booking 6 weeks ago. That's impossible. Your system is lying. I want to see proof." He turned the tablet to show her the booking record. Karen squinted at it, her face going through several interesting color changes. "Well, clearly your system made an error and didn't record my original booking. That's not my fault. I still need to sit in first class. I have a presentation to prepare. Can't you just upgrade me? I'm sure these people wouldn't mind switching to Economy Plus. It's actually better for children, less stuffy." "Ma'am, the flight is completely full. Every seat is assigned. You need to take your assigned seat in 14C so we can complete boarding." Karen's eyes narrowed. "You know what? Fine. I'll sit in that inadequate seat. But I'm filing a formal complaint against this entire crew, this family for their aggressive behavior, and the airline for systematic fraud. I have documentation of everything. I'm also going to post about this on social media. I have 17,000 followers who will absolutely hear about how I was treated today." She snatched her bag and stormed toward the back of the plane, muttering loudly about lawsuits and discrimination and corporate malfeasance. Marcus looked up at me. "Daddy, why was that lady so mean?" "Some people think the rules don't apply to them, buddy. But they always do eventually." Sarah leaned across the aisle, whispered low enough that only I could hear. "Should we tell her Mom literally helped write the passenger policy manual she's about to cite in her complaint? Let's see how this plays out first." The flight was uneventful for the first hour. Marcus watched a movie, ate his first-class cookies with the appropriate level of 7-year-old reverence, and managed to doze off. I was reviewing some documents for work when the call button started dinging from somewhere in Economy Plus. Repeatedly. The flight attendant who'd helped us earlier walked past with a tray, caught my eye, and gave the tiniest head shake. Message received. Karen was making her presence known. About 20 minutes later, the attendant stopped by our row. "Mr. Henderson, I apologize, but I need to inform you that the passenger from earlier has filed an in-flight complaint claiming your son kicked her seat repeatedly during boarding, that you made threatening statements, and that she feels unsafe on this aircraft. Sarah's head snapped up. She what? It's standard procedure that I notify you. The captain has reviewed the claim and the gate camera footage, which shows none of these things occurred. However, she's demanding to speak with the highest-ranking crew member on board. I nodded slowly. Would it help if I mentioned that my mother-in-law was Evelyn Henderson? The flight attendant's eyes widened. Evelyn Henderson? The Evelyn Henderson? Oh my God, I'm so sorry for your loss. She was a legend. She personally hired me 12 years ago. Thank you. She spoke very highly of the culture she helped build here. I'm sure she'd want this handled by the book. Absolutely. I'll inform the purser. And sir? That woman in 14C has also complained about her seat being too narrow, her neighbor breathing too loudly, the cabin temperature, the Wi-Fi speed, the snack selection, and the color of the napkins. In 90 minutes. After she left, Sarah pulled out her phone. I'm texting Doug in customer relations. If she's planning to make this a social media thing, they need to get ahead of it. Is that really necessary? Babe, she threatened our son and filed false complaints about him. Yeah, it's necessary. I didn't argue. Sarah had her mother's protective instinct and her organizational precision. If Karen wanted to weaponize the system, she just activated someone who knew every gear and lever in that system intimately. The rest of the flight, Karen's call button continued its irregular symphony, each request more absurd than the last. The cabin was too cold. Now too hot. Her reading light wasn't bright enough. The passenger in front of her reclined 1 inch. The bathroom wasn't clean to her standards. She needed to speak with someone about the Wi-Fi not being fast enough for her presentation. When we landed in Seattle, there was a gate supervisor waiting at the door. Not unusual for complaint situations, but the supervisor was accompanied by 2 airport security officers. Very unusual. Karen deplaned before us, immediately launching into what sounded like a prepared speech. Finally, I need to report multiple safety violations, passenger harassment, and systematic discrimination. I also need to know the process for filing a lawsuit against both the airline and the family in row 2. The supervisor's expression was carefully neutral. Ma'am, we can discuss your concerns in the office. If you'll come with me? No. I want this documented publicly. I want witnesses. That family threatened me, their child assaulted me, and the crew colluded to cover it up. One of the security officers stepped forward. Ma'am, you need to come with us now. You can make your statement in the office. Am I being detained? Because I'm the victim here. I'm the one who was wronged. We gathered our things slowly, letting the situation play out. As we walked past the office where they'd taken Karen, we could hear her voice echoing down the corridor, listing grievances with the energy of someone who'd been rehearsing. Sarah squeezed my hand. Think it's over? Not even close. I was right. 3 days later, back in Boston after the funeral, I received an email. Not to my personal address, but to my work email. My work email at the law firm where I was a senior partner specializing in aviation law and passenger rights litigation. The email was from Karen, who'd somehow tracked down my identity and professional information. The subject line read, Legal notice regarding assault, harassment, and discrimination. The body of the email was a masterpiece of misplaced confidence. She outlined her version of events, which bore almost no resemblance to reality. According to her narrative, Marcus had somehow kicked her seat from 3 rows away before takeoff. I'd verbally threatened her. The flight crew had participated in a conspiracy to deny her her rightful seat. She'd suffered emotional distress, public humiliation, and the airline's actions had caused her to miss preparing for a crucial presentation that cost her a client. She was demanding $75,000 in damages. From me personally. She'd also attached screenshots of her social media posts about the incident, which had apparently gone viral in certain circles. 17,000 followers had indeed heard her story. Several travel bloggers had picked it up. There were think pieces about airline discrimination against women. A consumer rights advocate had shared it with commentary about corporate bullying. The narrative she crafted painted her as a successful businesswoman systematically oppressed by an airline catering to wealthy families. She positioned herself as fighting for the rights of all business travelers against entitled parents who thought their children deserved special treatment. Not once in her 5,000-word saga did she mention that we'd had assigned seats, that she'd tried to bribe a child, that she'd filed false safety reports, that she'd harassed the crew for 3 straight hours. Sarah read it over my shoulder. "So what are you going to do?" I forwarded the email to 3 people. First, to my firm's litigation team with a note about potential defamation. Second, to Doug in the airline's customer relations department. Third, to an old law school friend named Patricia who specialized in frivolous lawsuits and had a particular talent for making them very, very expensive for the people who filed them. Then I did something Karen definitely wasn't expecting. I looked her up. Karen Mitchell, founder and sole employee of Mitchell Consulting Group, specializing in operational efficiency for mid-sized companies. Her LinkedIn showed an impressive list of past clients, but nothing current in the last 8 months. Her business website hadn't been updated in over a year. The last blog post was about airline travel tips, ironically emphasizing the importance of patience and understanding. More interesting was what I found when I pulled her business registration. Mitchell Consulting Group wasn't just struggling. It was essentially defunct. She'd let her business license lapse. Her professional insurance had expired. She was consulting under a business entity that legally no longer existed. But the most interesting discovery came from a deeper background check. Karen had a history. 3 previous lawsuits against service providers, all settled for nuisance amounts under $10,000. 2 formal complaints with the Better Business Bureau against competitors, both dismissed. And a pattern of online reviews where she'd posted scathing 1-star ratings for any business that didn't meet her exacting standards, usually followed by the business owner offering a settlement to remove the review. Karen wasn't just entitled. She was running a grift. Manufacture a conflict, make noise on social media, threaten litigation, settle for enough to keep her failing business afloat for another few months. Rinse and repeat. She'd just made one critical error. She'd chosen the wrong target. Patricia called me that evening. "Oh, this is delicious. She sent you a legal demand letter in your capacity as a private citizen, but you're an attorney specializing in exactly the area she's threatening to sue in. The irony is so thick I could serve it at Thanksgiving. Can we make this expensive for her?" "Expensive? Darling, we can make this ruinous. She's filed a claim based on completely false statements. She's posted defamatory content publicly, and she's doing it all while operating an unlicensed business and misrepresenting herself as a legitimate consultant. Plus, if she actually files this lawsuit, we can countersue for malicious prosecution, abuse of process, and defamation. With the evidence you've got, this is open and shut. What's your recommendation? Let her file. Let her spend money on an attorney, or better yet, let her try to represent herself. Then we bury her in discovery requests, depose every passenger and crew member on that flight, subpoena her business records to show the pattern of behavior, and when we win which we pursue every single claim we can." Seems harsh. Patricia's laugh was sharp. She threatened your 7-year-old child and tried to shake you down for 75 grand. Harsh would be letting her continue doing this to other people. This is justice. She had a point. I drafted a response to Karen's email. Professional, brief, devastating. "Dear Miss Mitchell, I acknowledge receipt of your demand letter dated November 14th. Please be advised that I am an attorney licensed to practice in Massachusetts and New York, specializing in aviation law and passenger rights litigation. I have reviewed your claims and find them to be wholly without merit and contradicted by substantial evidence, including video footage, witness statements, and official records. Your demand constitutes attempted fraud and extortion. Any further contact should be directed through legal counsel. Should you proceed with litigation, please be aware that I will vigorously defend against your claims and pursue all available counterclaims, including defamation, malicious prosecution, and abuse of process. Additionally, I have referred your social media statements to my firm's defamation specialist for review. Finally, I note that according to Massachusetts business records, Mitchell Consulting Group's business license expired 7 months ago, and you are currently operating without proper business registration or professional insurance. You may wish to consult with an attorney regarding these matters. Regards, James Henderson, J.D., Senior Partner, Henderson and Associates. I sent it and copied Doug at the airline and Patricia. The response came 12 minutes later. You think you can intimidate me with legal jargon? I know my rights. I'm moving forward with my lawsuit. I've already contacted several attorneys who are very interested in my case. You'll be hearing from them soon. Also, I'm filing a bar complaint against you for threatening a potential litigant. See you in court? Patricia called again. She's representing herself, isn't she? Looks that way. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Let me know when you get served. 2 weeks passed. No lawsuit materialized. But Karen's social media campaign intensified. She'd started a blog called Flying While Female, documenting alleged discrimination by airlines. Our incident was featured prominently, with my name and firm clearly identified. She'd posted photos of Marcus that she'd apparently taken on the plane without our knowledge or consent. She'd created a hashtag that was gaining minor traction. She'd also started a GoFundMe to fund her lawsuit against me and the airline. Goal: $100,000. Amount raised: $347, mostly from her own alternate accounts based on the donor names. That's when Sarah made a discovery. Babe, you need to see this. She showed me her phone. Karen had posted in a Facebook group for airline industry professionals, the kind of closed group that requires employment verification to join. Somehow she'd gotten in, probably by claiming she was a consultant who worked with airlines. Her post was seeking information about Evelyn Henderson's family. Specifically, she was asking if anyone knew how to contact us, what our financial situation was, whether we had any vulnerabilities she could exploit. She'd framed it as gathering information for her case, but the intent was clear. Several actual airline employees had responded, mostly telling her to back off. One had recognized Mom's name and posted a lengthy tribute to her legacy. Another had pointed out that what Karen was doing looked a lot like harassment and stalking. Karen's response had been to double down, claiming she was the real victim and that Evelyn Henderson's family was using their airline connections to persecute her. That's when Doug from Customer Relations called. James, we need to talk about Karen Mitchell. I figured you might. She's filed formal complaints with the DOT, the FAA, and the Attorney General's office claiming systematic discrimination. We have to respond to each one, which means dedicating staff time and legal resources to what we know are completely baseless claims. She's also demanding free flights for a year as compensation, a public apology posted on our social media, and the termination of the crew members who discriminated against her. What do you need from me? Honestly? Permission to stop playing nice. We've been treating this as a customer service issue, but it's crossed into harassment of our employees and abuse of regulatory systems. If you're willing to pursue this legally, We'll support you fully. We'll also be pursuing our own claims against her for the false FAA report alone. You have my full cooperation. Good. Because our general counsel found something interesting. She's done this before. Not with airlines, but with hotels, restaurants, rental car companies. Same pattern. Manufacture a conflict, make social media noise, file complaints with regulatory agencies, demand settlement. Usually the companies pay her a few $1,000s to go away because it's cheaper than fighting. How much has she collected? In the last 3 years? We estimate around $60,000 across maybe 20 incidents. She's basically turned being professionally offended into a part-time income stream. That's fraud. Yes, it is. And now she's made the mistake of doing it to people who have the resources and motivation to stop her. The next day, I filed a lawsuit. Not for defamation, though that was coming. For something more immediate and more devastating. I sued her for child exploitation and violation of privacy laws. In Massachusetts, photographing a minor without parental consent and using those images for commercial purposes specifically to raise funds is illegal. Karen had not only posted Marcus's photos on her blog, but she'd used them on her fundraising page and in social media ads promoting her story. The lawsuit sought an immediate injunction preventing her from using Marcus's image, statutory damages, and attorney's fees. I served her on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, I had a panicked voicemail. Mr. Henderson, this is Karen Mitchell. I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. I never meant any harm to your son. I was just documenting my experience. I've taken down the photos. I'm willing to drop my whole case if you drop yours. We can both just walk away. Please call me back. I didn't call back. Patricia did. Miss Mitchell, this is Patricia Chun, attorney for James Henderson. Your removal of the photos after being served doesn't eliminate the violation. Those images were publicly available for 3 weeks and were used in commercial fundraising. We'll be pursuing maximum statutory damages. Additionally, my client will be filing defamation claims for your false statements about him and his son. The airline is also pursuing claims. You should retain counsel immediately. According to Patricia, there was a long silence. Then, how much would it cost to make this all go away? I'm not authorized to discuss settlement at this time. Discovery is ongoing. But I don't have money for a lawyer. I can't afford this. Then you probably shouldn't have threatened to sue my client for $75,000 you also can't afford. Have a good day, Miss Mitchell. Karen filed her lawsuit against me 3 days later. Handwritten, filed pro se, so riddled with legal errors that Patricia actually laughed when she read it. She's claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress, assault by proxy through your son, conspiracy with the airline, defamation for calling her claims fraudulent, and violation of her civil rights. James, she's asking for $250,000 now. She's also listed herself as the founder and CEO of a consulting firm that doesn't legally exist. Can we get this dismissed quickly? We can, but honestly, I think we should let it proceed just far enough to make this really hurt. She needs to understand that actions have consequences. The judge assigned to her case took one look at the filing and scheduled an emergency hearing. Not to hear her claims, but to determine if she was attempting to abuse the court system. At the hearing, Karen showed up in what was clearly her power suit, a dated pinstripe number that looked like it came from a 1990s corporate catalog. She'd brought 3 binders of evidence. The judge, a woman in her 60s, with the expression of someone who'd seen every courtroom trick, flipped through Karen's filing. Miss Mitchell, you're representing yourself? Yes, Your Honor. I can't afford an attorney because Mr. Henderson's harassment has destroyed my business. I'm forced to defend myself against a wealthy corporate lawyer who's using his connections to persecute me. I see. And you're suing Mr. Henderson for $250,000 for events that occurred on an airplane? Yes, Your Honor. His son assaulted me, he threatened me, and he's conspired with the airline to defame me. I have witnesses. The judge looked at me. Mr. Henderson, I see you're represented by Patricia Chen. Miss Chen, what's your position? Patricia stood. Your Honor, we'll be filing a motion to dismiss with prejudice based on failure to state a claim. However, we're also asking the court to consider this filing as evidence of malicious prosecution. Miss Mitchell has engaged in a pattern of filing frivolous complaints and lawsuits as an extortion scheme. Karen shot to her feet. That's defamatory. Your Honor, they're doing it again. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They're using their money and power to silence me. Sit down, Miss Mitchell. The judge's voice could have frozen lava. I've reviewed the initial filings from both parties. Miss Chen, your motion to dismiss is granted. I'm also awarding attorney's fees to Mr. Henderson. Furthermore, I'm imposing a pre-filing order on Miss Mitchell. Any future litigation related to this incident must be approved by this court before filing. Karen's face went pale. But Your Honor, they violated my rights. The airline discriminated against me. His son kicked my seat. Miss Mitchell, the airline has provided video footage showing none of these things occurred. You were seated 3 rows away from the child you claim assaulted you. Your boarding pass shows you booked economy plus 1 day before the flight, contradicting your claims about having a first-class reservation. Most concerning, you posted photos of a minor child on fundraising websites without parental consent, which is currently the subject of criminal investigation by the DA's office. Criminal investigation? Karen's voice cracked. But I was just defending myself. You exploited a child's image for financial gain after filing false reports about him. That's not defense, Miss Mitchell. That's retaliation against a minor. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Henderson, I'm signing the injunction prohibiting Miss Mitchell from any contact with your family or any further publication of information about your son. Miss Mitchell, you have 10 days to pay the attorney's fees or face contempt charges. We're adjourned. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Karen tried one last approach. She rushed up to me, tears streaming down her face. Please, Mr. Henderson, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was stressed about my business failing, and I just reacted badly. Can't we work something out? I'll apologize publicly. I'll take down everything. Just please don't pursue the criminal charges. I can't go to jail. Please. Patricia stepped between us. Miss Mitchell, you're violating the no-contact order that was just issued. Leave now, or I'm calling court security. Karen backed away, her expression shifting from desperate to furious. This isn't over. You think you've won, but you haven't. I know people. I have connections. You're going to regret this. That sounds like a threat, Miss Mitchell. I'm documenting it. Karen turned and fled down the hallway, her budget heels clicking unevenly on the marble floor. The following week, the district attorney's office filed charges. Not major charges, but enough. Misuse of a minor's image for commercial purposes, filing false police reports, and harassment. Karen was arrested, posted bail, and immediately started a new social media campaign about how she was being persecuted by wealthy elites. This time, almost no one was listening. The airline settled into the background, their investigation complete, their actions vindicated. Doug sent a nice note thanking us for our patience with the process. But I wasn't done. Because Karen had made one claim in her lawsuit that stuck with me. She'd written extensively about her consulting business, how successful it was, how many clients she had, how my actions had destroyed her livelihood. So I did something she absolutely wasn't expecting. I bought her business. Or rather, I bought the domain name for Mitchell Consulting Group when it came up for renewal, and she failed to pay the registration fee. I bought the phone number when her service was disconnected for non-payment. I registered a new business entity called Mitchell Consulting Solutions, similar enough to cause confusion, but legally distinct. Then I built a website. A very professional website. Clean design. Corporate feel. And on the front page, in clear, calm language, I told the true story of Karen Mitchell. The lawsuit. The false claims. The pattern of behavior. The criminal charges. All documented with court filings, police reports, and video evidence. I also included a service offering. Mitchell Consulting Solutions now specialized in helping businesses protect themselves from fraudulent consulting schemes and serial complainants. We offered training on how to document incidents, how to respond to frivolous demands, and how to identify patterns of abuse. Every single one of Karen's former targets that we could identify received a letter informing them about the new website and offering them free resources. The website was SEO optimized. Anyone searching for Karen Mitchell or Mitchell Consulting Group found my site first. I also did something else. I contacted every company she'd successfully extracted money from over the last 3 years. I offered to represent them, pro bono, in recovering their settlements based on fraud. 11 companies took me up on it. Karen found out about the website on a Thursday morning. I know this because she called my office approximately 40 times in 3 hours, each voicemail more unhinged than the last. Finally, she showed up at my building. Security stopped her in the lobby, but she was screaming loud enough that I could hear her from my office on the 15th floor. He stole my business. He stole my name. He's destroying my life. I want to press charges. This is theft. This is fraud. Someone has to stop him. Security called the police. When they arrived, Karen tried to file a theft report. The officers, to their credit, listened patiently to her explanation. Then they explained that you can't steal a business name that isn't registered, a domain that wasn't paid for, or a phone number that was disconnected. Everything I'd done was completely legal. They also reminded her that she had a restraining order prohibiting her from contacting me and that showing up at my workplace violated that order. She was arrested again. This time, no one posted bail for her. 3 days later, Patricia called with an update. The DA is offering a plea deal. If she pleads guilty to the harassment and false report charges, drops all civil claims, issues a public apology, and agrees to a permanent restraining order, they'll recommend probation instead of jail time. Has she taken it? Not yet. She's demanding they investigate you for theft and harassment first. Apparently, she's found a lawyer willing to take her case. Some ambulance chaser who thinks he can make a quick settlement. Let me know if they file anything. They filed the next week. A lawsuit claiming I'd intentionally interfered with her business relationships, stolen her intellectual property, and engaged in a conspiracy to destroy her reputation. Patricia's response was a thing of beauty. A motion to dismiss accompanied by counterclaims for malicious prosecution, abuse of process, and a request for sanctions against Karen's attorney for filing frivolous claims. The hearing was scheduled for mid-December, 4 weeks after the original plane incident. Karen showed up with her budget lawyer, a nervous man who looked like he was already regretting his life choices. They'd prepared what appeared to be a detailed presentation about how I destroyed her business. The judge, a different one this time, listened to exactly 90 seconds of Karen's attorney's opening statement before holding up a hand. Counsel, your client's business registration lapsed 7 months before the airplane incident. Her business insurance expired. Her domain registration failed due to non-payment. Her phone service was disconnected. How exactly did Mr. Henderson interfere with a business that no longer legally existed? Karen's attorney shuffled papers. Your Honor, the technical registration status doesn't negate the fact that she was operating a consulting practice and Mr. Henderson maliciously targeted it. Operating an unlicensed, uninsured business while representing herself as a legitimate consultant? That's fraud, counselor. Are you sure you want to make that argument? The lawyer went pale. Perhaps we should discuss settlement. I think perhaps you should discuss withdrawing this lawsuit before I grant the defendant's request for sanctions. Karen grabbed her lawyer's arm. No. We're not giving up. He destroyed everything. My reputation, my business, my life. He has to pay. Make him pay. The judge's expression could have curdled milk. Miss Mitchell, from what I'm reading, you destroyed your own reputation by filing false reports, harassing a child, and running an extortion scheme. Mr. Henderson simply documented your actions. That's not destruction, that's consequences. Your case is dismissed with prejudice. I'm awarding attorney's fees and costs to the defendant. I'm also imposing a vexatious litigant designation. Any future lawsuits you file in this jurisdiction must be approved by a judge before proceeding. Finally, I'm referring this matter and your attorney to the Board of Bar Overseers for filing a frivolous claim. Karen stood frozen, her face cycling through disbelief, rage, and finally, shock realization. Her attorney was already packing his briefcase. And just like that, it was over. Karen Mitchell, serial complainant and professional victim, had finally met someone who didn't find it cheaper to just pay her off. Someone with the resources, the knowledge, and the motivation to turn her own tactics against her. Her business name was gone. Her reputation was documented in permanent court records. Her ability to file harassing lawsuits was restricted. And every time someone searched for her name, they found the truth. All because she tried to take a 7-year-old's airplane seat. If you enjoyed watching Karen face the ultimate consequences of her entitled behavior, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Karen E World. We've got tons more stories about entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. Remember, sometimes karma needs a little help from someone who knows how the system actually works. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.